Right. So I'll introduce you to the candidates for the education section. Firstly, just behind me is Nick Hode. Okay. And then just behind me, just here, is Brindley Pearlston. And finally, we have Swaran Singh. Just as before, they'll have 2 minutes to tell us why you should vote for them. And then we'll go on to the debate after that. Okay, because there's 3 of them this time round. It's probably likely we'll have a couple more questions. Okay, so without any more ado, would Nick Hode like to take the floor?
All right. Okay. My name is Nick Hode, and I'm running to be your education officer for the coming year. This is massively important due to the upcoming institutional review, which will have huge impact on recent graduates and students today. So what makes me the best candidate? I'm going to combat day-to-day issues which affect you every day, such as timetabling, feedback, access to core textbooks in the library, and journals online. These are easily achievable points which have not yet been achieved. We're going to boost your employability by providing subject-specific events through working with departments, course-based societies, and outside organisations. We're going to campaign to get the university to formally recognise the work of sports and societies on your transcript when you graduate. Other universities around the country are making moves to do this, and I want to make sure that Swansea keeps up to scratch. The rep system has been a fantastic start this year, and I've had a great time as a subject rep. However, it's clear that a great number of students still don't know how to fully utilise the system. Big pun. I'm going to ensure that all students know what to expect from their reps, and what reps should expect from me, whilst allowing them greater control over the work that they do. Student-staff relations in some departments have been affected by the format of the system, and by giving reps more independence, we can allow them to work with departments in ways that benefit both parties. Finally, I will run a campaign throughout my time based on breaking down barriers to education which students face every day. These include specific learning difficulties, caring responsibilities, and mental health conditions. I will ensure that both the Students' Union and the university fully appreciate the effects that these issues have on your education. So vote Nick Hode number 1, the best candidate for the job.
Okay, that was Nick, and now for Brindley.
Hi guys, my name is Brindley, and I'm running to be your education officer for the coming year. I'm not going to dwell on the experience that I have being involved with the Physics Society, LGBT+ Society, and being a 4th year, final year master's student. I'm not going to simply repeat my whole manifesto. If you want that, come see me on the mall or go look at my manifesto online. However, there is one important issue that I want to talk to you about today, and that's communication. Students have been coming up to me and they've been telling me that their departments have inefficient and ineffective means of communicating with them. The problem is only magnified when it comes to joint honours student, where the 2 departments can't talk to each other, let alone the student. I feel this problem is fundamental to everyone's university careers, and that's why it needs to be tackled, and it needs to be tackled now. I say this because next year the university is subject to something called institutional review. These happen to universities every 6 years, and next year it's coming to Swansea University. Half of the review comes from the university, and half comes from the Students' Union. As the education officer, I'll be the link between the university and Students' Union. That's why this year it's especially important that we elect the correct candidate. I believe that I have the necessary experience to be that candidate. In my role next year, as the university works in the second campus, I will endeavour to work with the other full-time officer team to ensure that as the university matures, your education will mature with it. That's why you should vote Bryn to win. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Bryn. And now Swaran.
Hi, my name is Swaran Singh, and I'm running to be your education officer because I believe I have the practical ideas and experience to enhance student satisfaction. I will work to win more investment for Swansea University and higher education. I will say no to any cuts, and I also have a plan to tackle the day-to-day issues that every student faces. My main policies are split into 3 main topics: your course, your library, and your future. For your course, I will ensure that every student has an individual timetable to access. For your library, I will ensure that you can top up your library card online with cash, making printing easier. And also the introduction of an interactive library map to make finding books simple. For your future, I will ensure that you have a chance to take a work placement for all courses. As a sports captain, as a student ambassador, and as your college rep for Arts and Humanities, I have prior experience at tackling the concerns for students. And also, I understand how important it is to keep Wednesdays free for sports. So while I'm sure if I get voted education officer, I will keep Wednesdays afternoon free. Next year is a very important year for the university as we are getting reviewed. And we need an education officer that is not scared to stand up for students, whilst willing to work with the university in a pragmatic manner. Thank you very much for listening to my speech today. Vote Swaran Singh for number 1 for education officer.
Okay, we now move into the debate, which I think will be interesting. So, first question is going to go to you, Nick, and it's a question about postgraduates. How are you going to improve things for them on campus?
Hi. Postgraduates, great. Well, it's a bit of a society's point as well, actually. We've seen this year that the Postgraduate Society has had a couple of issues. By working and developing this society, I'm hoping to work with the postgraduate group on a one-on-one basis, find out what issues affect them mostly. I'm not a postgraduate, so I don't have first-hand experience with postgraduate problems, but I need to talk with them, and I need to find out what issues affect them educationally, essentially. So yeah.
Okay, so it's about finding out what affects them and making the most of the postgraduate society, by the sounds of it. Bryn, what about you?
As a master's student, I feel very strongly about this. I think that postgraduates feel very disconnected from the undergraduate university. In some senses, they work very, very hard at their job and they do very, very well for their academic career. And that's all well and good. But when it comes to societies, they're not very well integrated, and I think this needs to be changed. I think academic society, subject-specific societies are the key to getting postgraduates integrated into university life.
Okay, so it's about improving integration. Swaran, what are you going to do for those postgrads?
Well, I think most of the main things really have been targeted already, and I agree with them. You know, general society integration, maybe more open days, but not so much an open day before they come. When they come, show them around the university again, show them where sports are done, where you can meet these people. If you're involved in a society, you're more likely to be happier in university, you're more likely to stay and do better. Thank you, Stuart.
Okay. Making people feel happy, and they'll probably do better that way. Well, we all know about examinations. We all know about assessment and feedback. It's taking some time to get some feedback for some students, and it's obviously been a bit of an issue for them. What would you guys do to speed up those academics? And that goes to Swaran first.
Thank you. If you've read my manifesto, you read that I've actually brought up this point before. Why are we not allowed to be late with work, but lecturers are? This is something that, as a college rep student, I've had discussions with lecturers already, and they went, you're not giving us enough time, you're giving us too much pressure. And I'm like, at the end of the day, if you have too much pressure, if you're going to be late with work, tell us, as soon as you can. Don't wait until it's late to tell us it's going to be late. What can we do to really help them out? Maybe, it's going to sound a little bit hard, but hire more staff, maybe?
Okay, so it's about having some more academics and communicating with them effectively. So, Bryn, what would you do to get things sped up?
I think Swaran's right. I think communication is the key here. The staff need to tell us when work is going to be late, that is going to be late. But also, this year, the current education officer has worked hard to implement a 3-week policy with feedback. I think that this policy doesn't need to be ignored. We can keep moving forward while sticking to this policy and having the 3-week feedback policy being strongly campaigned to be kept, and the lecturers need to be reminded that 3 weeks there is there for us, for our feedback and for our communication.
So, Nick, would you keep to the 3-week golden rule of feedback?
Okay, so there is a 3-week suggested time limit for feedback. It's actually quite a complex issue, and it's not black and white. the UCU, in conjunction with the NUS this year, have brought out a campaign which is focusing more or less on this issue. It's talking about how welfare is actually an educational issue, and that's the welfare of lecturers. Lecturers are highly overworked. They have a huge amount of pressure put on them by us and the university. We need to work with lecturers and with the UCU to ensure that feedback can be delivered within the time limits. Adding more and more work to their already huge workload is only going to decrease our feedback time, increase our feedback time. Beg your pardon. So it's actually it's not easy. We can't just go at the department and say get it done for us faster. It's just not feasible.
Okay, so we've got to support those lecturers to be able to deliver that feedback. The next question, which is going to go to Bryn first, and then probably to Swaran, and then maybe to Nick, is about a really crucial issue at the moment. And we're all here to be representatives and to get feedback from people. And we talked about feedback from academics. But what about the National Student Survey? The biggest way in which students can get feedback to the government and to their institution. So what would you, as individuals, do to make sure that we got as many of those students in the final year to fill it in? Okay, Bryn.
So the NSS, and there's one for final year, for non-final year students as well, called the Student Satisfaction Survey, I think. They're very, very important because they give the university feedback. This is known, this is good. This year, there's been a lot more fundings put into promoting the NSS and such surveys because they're really very important. I think such backing can only be a good thing. To pour more effort into promoting these surveys is what needs to be done.
Okay, so some more effort. What about you, Swaran? What effort are you going to put in?
Thank you. I think what we really need to do is to tell and show students why it's really important. The main reason why they don't do it is because they think, oh, why? What doesn't affect me? Well, it does actually affect them. It's going to affect what the university does and therefore have an effect on their course. I've tried doing this, and essentially the best way we can show this is just, student interaction with other students, via the student rep system. Oh, by the way, it's really important. And maybe just have the lecturer say in the lecture, oh, could you do this, please? I think it might be as simple as that. But it probably has, it's something that's going to develop over time, I find. Thank you.
Okay, so we're talking about more interaction and getting the lecturers to give shout-outs by sounds of it as well. So what about you, Nick? What would you do to get those numbers up and the response rate high?
Okay, so yeah, I actually totally agree. It's about publicity. It's about publicising the NSS, and also showing students why it's important. And unless we understand why this affects us, why should we do it? So more or less, it's publicity.
Okay, so for Nick, it's publicity. And everybody out there who is a final year student themselves, you should be filling it in if you haven't filled it in already. Okay, so the next question we've got is a question in a number of parts. Okay, it is this. What are the 3 biggest issues facing higher education in Wales at the moment that affect students? Okay, so I think we'll let Swaran go first.
Well, 3, I would firstly start off my point really with finance and cuts and costs, because if you don't have the money, then you can't increase services. Decreased services mean, they're not going to be as good. As you'll see in my manifesto, if there's not enough finance for certain things, they're going to fall behind. I want to really, make the library a better place, but my policies aren't anything particularly expensive. Another real point is students' own finances. Or can I come to university? Do I have enough money? When I have money, what can I do with it? That's a really big effect. And I think there isn't a single person in this room, really, that when they were a student didn't struggle for money for one point. This can be something where you could sort it out maybe with help of budgeting, just teaching them simple classes about budgeting and finance. And finally, really, it's prospects or the fear of the lack of prospects. And again, this is in my manifesto. If we can, have more work experience opportunities, that really can only just increase employability for students. Thank you.
Okay. So Nick, what are your top 3?
Okay, my top three. Well, first and foremost has to be cuts. We all know about cuts and how they're affecting our university experience. Secondly, I would say student and staff welfare. These are issues which clearly have a welfare implication, but this then impacts upon our education. Staff welfare impacts upon our education by causing increased stress levels and ultimately sickness. We've experienced that in our department recently. Our head of department, or joint head of department, had to leave, and it was a complete mess. And that was because he was overworked. Thirdly, I would say the job market is scary at the moment. We all know that. Only by proving that Swansea students are the best, essentially. That's providing employability, enhancing events, experience and work placements. We can show that we're fully suited for the job market.
Okay. In both Swaran and in Nick's comments, they both mentioned employability, and they also mentioned cuts. What about Bryn, though? What's he going to say?
Well, I think the most important thing for higher education in Wales at the moment is value for money. Next year, the first 2 years of any university will have paid £9,000 for their tuition each and every year. If they're not getting their £9,000 worth, then there is something wrong with that. And that means they have to receive a high standard of education, they have to receive good support from the support staff and welfare staff at the universities, and that all has to be done. I think that's the most important thing. Secondly, indeed, employability is a big issue. The job market is scarce at the moment, and I think that it's important that graduates know what they can do with their degree and who they should go to find out. Employability is a big theme at the moment, and it needs to be told about. Thirdly, I agree with Nick. Staff welfare is a very good point. Without having staff that can't teach effectively, you can't learn effectively. Staff welfare ensures the level of higher education, which ensures your money's worth from your £9,000. Thanks.
Okay, we've heard the top three things which affect students in higher education and a little bit about what each of the candidates will do with that. Now, just as a final chance, guys, the three of you are all standing for Education Officer. What is it that you want people to leave this tent or to remember when they see this online later on that you said and that you were going to do? So one from each of you. Nick, you're first.
Cool. Right. Yeah, I won't hold you up for long. As I've said, this coming year is hugely important for students here at Swansea, so it's really important that you're voting on the candidate you think is best for the role. And on that point, please vote. We struggle to get 2,500, perhaps, voting. It's really important we get as many students voting in this election as possible. Let's beat the record that we have. I don't actually know the number off the top of my head for last year. Anyone? 3,200. Let's smash that. Okay? Thanks.
Yeah, again, I agree. It's really important that everyone votes. 3,200 is 1/5 of the university. We're a university of 15,000 students, and if 20% votes, that's not a majority. We need to get as many people to vote as we can. When I say vote for him to win, I'm not voting for you to vote me to win. I'm voting for us all to win. Thanks.
I agree with what these justices said. Obviously, voting is important. I'd like to end my message with, I'm here for your course, your library, and your future. Essentially, I want to make you guys more employable because, essentially, that is the reason why we've come to university. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so that concludes the education debate. And just to say thanks to each of the three gentlemen who are up on stage, just to introduce you to them again, we had Nick Hode. We had Bryn Pearlston. And finally, we had Swaran Singh. So these guys are looking for your votes for the position of Education Officer. And if they could do a little interview with Waterfront straight after this, that would be great. Okay, thanks very much, guys, and good luck. You can vote for these guys between 8 and 8 for the next 3 days running on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Make sure you vote.